Will they call you Shangyang?
I suppose.
No, they will call you Jesse. Personal names, they will keep it. Excuse me. Pollens.
Sorry.
Get some water. Personal names, we want to keep the names as it is. Like Abraham, the name of Abraham is kept exactly Abraham, even in the Greek text, even though it's a Hebrew word. So why have we not changed the name of Abraham as father of nations? So, before the father of nations, ego eimi. We haven't done that. The New Testament authors have not done it. Now, we're going to put the name of God back to itself. Yahweh. Okay? So let's see what this claim is all about then. Before Abraham was Yahweh. Hear me out 3 times. Before Abraham was Yahweh. Before Abraham was Yahweh. Before Abraham was Yahweh. If I were Jesus and I was saying that to you, before Abraham was Yahweh, what am I claiming?
Well, you're claiming that God came before Abraham.
Am I claiming anything about myself?
If that is the correct way to understand the language, then that's right.
Yeah,
you're not claiming
because that's exactly what it is. Here is the interlinear. Look here.
So
1 second, I have not finished.
That's
yet.
okay.
I'll
That's
give you
okay.
a chance.
That's okay.
Look, before Abraham
Yes.
was. Oh, sorry.
Sorry. It's okay.
Who's on the other side?
I am right. Look,
Yes.
here is the Greek. Prin.
Yes.
Excuse me. Abraham. Can stay. Ego. Amy.
And what? So my question is. Oh, you're not finished.
Give me time.
Make sure you jump in though, Jess, because you'll just keep going.
Hey, it's okay. Patience is okay, I think.
No, I know, but also don't be too passive. You know, you've got an opportunity here. But you're doing amazing.
Excuse me for those who.
I didn't realize. Oh my goodness.
I
There's
know,
a lot of
that's what
cameras.
I'm saying. You've got to
So what
stay.
we
He
are
does
saying-
this
what
every
we- What
week.
we are saying,
You're a
just I'll
victim
speak
here.
slightly lower tone.
Don't be a victim to it.
A little tough. Here, what has happened in the New Testament evangelism is they're trying to kill 2 birds with 1 stone when it's totally inappropriate. Because here, there is no 2 I ams. If Jesus said, before Abraham was, I am, then I am Yahweh. Makes sense. But it's not like this. So instead we find it's totally inappropriately mistranslated or misinterpreted to say he's claiming to be God. Because now if you put the sentence back with its original words as implied, it makes no claim about Jesus being God. Okay? That's from the language. Now, from the context, why did he say that? Because he was doing things, the Jewish people at that time, they weren't quite happy with what he's doing. He says, look, my father Abraham saw my day, and he rejoiced to see my day. He saw and that's when they said, you're not even 50 years old. How can you say you met Abraham? I'm paraphrasing, remember. We can go back to the text, no problem, unless you know it already. Only then he said, before Abraham was, I am.
That's right.
Right. So here, Jesus is answering their question about what?
About how he knows
is he?
Abraham.
How is he contemporary of Abraham?
That's right.
When he's not even 50 years old.
That's right.
Nothing to do about his claiming to be God. He's here saying, even before Abraham, I was there. I am there. Whatever you want to do. Meaning, he's not only contemporary, he's even before that.
That's right.
Now, this can only prove his pre-existence.
That's right. Which is not a human trait.
Pre-existence is not synonymous to being God, because we have many other people who have pre-existence.
Who's
To
that?
give you an example, another individual who is also contemporary to Abraham. Now that would be interesting, isn't it? And Abraham gave 1/10 of wealth and so on.
We're talking about Melchizedek.
Melchizedek.
Yes.
He's described as what?
Well, he's a high priest.
No. In terms of pre-existence, he's described as what?
Can you type those?
He has no beginning of days, no end of days, no father, no mother, no genealogy, but he lives continuously, like forever. He has no beginning of days, my friend. So, Jesus' claim is he existed before Abraham. This individual exists even before Abraham and anyone else, because he has no beginning. There's even a higher claim. So I want to ask you, Jesse, does that make Melchizedek in any way, shape or form divine?
Melchizedek is very, very unusual to me. I don't understand how
Whoever
that could
is.
work. Yeah.
Whoever that is.
But
Does that make
are you-
Melchizedek divine?
Well, no.
Excellent.
But are
Thank
you saying that a man can have no beginning?
No, what I'm saying is, I am just giving you a response to these supporting verses people bring in Christianity in support of deity of Christ.
So my question...
My response was, we find individuals who has a more of a higher claim than Jesus, and yet, according to your admission, it doesn't make them divine.
Except...
When can he speak?
Oh, it's all right, I'm listening.
He will speak. I want to make my claim, my segment clear. Pre-existence of anyone, according to the biblical text, doesn't make someone divine, according to your own admission. So even if Jesus was pre-existing, even it doesn't say that. It only says he was before Abraham. It doesn't say he was before Adam or anyone
I
like
will
that.
clarify, I don't believe that. I don't believe that a man can have no beginning. So I believe
who's
that the man...
Melchizedek?
Well, Melchizedek is mysterious in the sense that that might not necessarily mean that Melchizedek is a man with no beginning. Because I don't believe such a man can exist. Only God can exist.
Is he God?
With no beginning.
Is he God?
I don't believe he is, but it could be a poetic device about Melchizedek's...
Now we cannot go to...
Because the alternative is that Melchizedek has no beginning,
Look,
like God.
Whenever we're dealing with claims, extraordinary claims, we can't simply say it's poetic. We have to take literally as it says.
Not always. Not always.
Then
because
that means every single statement Christ said, I say it's poetry.
No.
God.
Well, if you throw it out like that.
No.
But
Not throwing out,
sometimes
Jesse.
poetry is actually
Jesse,
written that way. It's purposely put there.
In arguments like this, I'm going to use every single statement that you bring is all about poetry.
I understand that that's a cop-out.
It's not a cop-out, it's being consistent. If you want to be consistent, I will be consistent. So you have no evidence to substantiate the deity of Christ because it's all about poetry. So when we go to the verses which is not poetical, that will determine to understand that. So now we realize...
Yes, well...
At one point, by the way, here, it wasn't accused of blasphemy. Did the Jewish people, a faction of them, accuse Christ of blasphemy?
Yes, they did.
And what was his response?
What was his response to the black? Would you mind?
I can give you. It's Mark 14:60.
Mark
14:60.
What was his response of accusation of blasphemy?
Do you want me to? I know all about that.
Would you be able to?
Yeah, I can answer
find
that
it
for him if you want me to. Okay, yeah, just find him. Do you not have it? Okay, just go to Mark 14, verse like 58 to 62.
I don't have the Bible on this.
Yeah, she's gonna get it.
Mark 14.
So he was on trial.
So you mere man, you claim to be God? This is what they said, right?
Yes.
It's not like when he said, "Oh, what actions? What have I done? What have I that you claim that I am claiming to blaspheme?" So they said, "You, even as a mere man, you claim to be God." Oh, that's a good accusation to hear, right? So what was his response?
I know where you're going with this.
Do you know what the response is?
This is in John that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Mark or?
Mark 14,
His response was that
62.
God called you gods.
58 to 62, I believe.
How can it be so insane?
There's no
for
such
me
thing
to
as
call me
small g
God?
and capital G, my friend. This is a manufacturing, retrospective, trying to water down what Christ is saying.
We heard
It's
him
Elohim.
say that.
Elohim.
God said,
Elohim, yes.
Elohim, it's not about small g.
Well, but Elohim is
Jesus was
created.
then the high
God
priest
created
asked him,
Elohim.
Are you the Messiah?
God is called Elohim.
That's it.
Bereshit,
That
bara,
makes him a
Elohim.
deity.
Yeah, that makes it. It gets confusing.
And he says yes.
But there are created beings also called Elohim, which makes
So
it.
God is called Elohim.
Seated upon our
He is, but
It's
so
not
are
a
these
something
things
He just
else.
said,
created
I'm
beings.
God. Then he said, and then the
So
reaction,
here,
look at the
Jesus
reaction.
saying,
The high priest.
This is not written
and
in your
his,
law.
what does he say?
You are called Elohim,
High priest.
sons of the Most High. Who's the
Blasphemy.
Most High?
God.
Okay, why is it blasphemy?
And
Because he
these
said,
Elohim
I'm
are the
God.
sons of the Most High.
Show him that.
Yeah.
From verse,
So are they divine?
ask him to read
Being the
to
sons?
him.
Not
There. No, go on.
Right,
From here.
because in the Old Testament, in Psalms
wait.
82,
Yeah, no,
verse 1 to
58.
6,
58.
God tells these judges, you will die like men.
You were just there.
Because they're
Yeah,
not
it
gods.
just went up.
But he presides in the assembly of El, in the assembly of
Okay, no, not
gods.
58. No.
Do you
Go
believe
down.
God has an assembly of gods?
Yeah, this.
Not
and then
gods like
okay,
here,
then from here.
but there is an
Then the
assembly of
high priest-
created
How many gods
spiritual
are
beings.
there?
There's only one God.
Read all
So
the
when
way
God
down.
has an assembly with gods, who are the other gods?
Those other gods are created beings.
So,
that God
so
made.
now you find God is presiding over other false gods, because they're not really gods. Because you cannot have,
Well, yes.
False gods to
They're
be
not.
gods.
We should not. If we worship them, we are worshiping false
Jesse.
gods. That's
but
right.
God calls them gods. Okay?
He calls them
so
gods, but not
Jesus,
to be worshipped.
so why did Jesus bring this verse to refute them? Because even if he said and claimed himself to be Elohim, God, it would not be a blasphemy. Because God calls people gods. You see
Can you
that?
read it, please?
God called people gods. So if you
He's
want
not
the
going to let
judges,
you
and I
speak.
say
You
I
have
am
to
God.
ask him. You have to be more assertive.
It just
Yeah,
disappears.
no, you just fix it.
But he said,
Calm
I
down.
only said I'm Ben Elyon, son of
You got to do
Elyon.
it quick, Jess.
Right? They were sons of the Most High and sons of the Elyon. It doesn't make him God. So that means the accusation of blasphemy is debunked
Yeah, he's just
so
quiet, man.
utterly that they had nothing else to say. Because
He's
Jesus
just
Christ
standing
was
there.
given the knowledge of the book of the Jewish people.
Yeah, I'll get it back
God
up.
taught him the book
Yeah.
and the wisdom and the gospel. So Christ was able to totally dismantle these accusations they brought about blasphemy. Now, the same people accused Jesus Christ of being demon-possessed and told you're a madman. Do you accept the accusation to be true?
No.
Ah, very interesting. That means any accusation people make, you can't take this accusation as to be the claim of the individual who's been accused
It
of.
does help clarify what they thought Jesus was saying, which
But
helps us to understand what he might have been saying.
But they're only accusing. They accuse Christ of being
That's right.
madman, demon-possessed.
That's right.
But you'd say that
But we were
accusation is
talking about what
false.
that meant before what Jesus
But
said.
you'd say the accusation is false, right?
I say that that accusation that he's demon-possessed is false, yes.
And what about that accusation about
That he was
blasphemy?
claiming to be Jesus, that he was claiming to be God.
Yeah.
Well, I think that because it happens right in a passage where he says that he was before Abraham, I would like to get back
not
to
the same
this.
passage.
I would like to get back to this.
It's not the same passage.
I'm sorry. I'm talking about when they threw him off, when they tried to throw him off the
But
cliff.
here Jesus responded and he refuted them. So now we have a refutation of Christ saying, I didn't claim to be God.
It's not the same passage, but it is the same book and the same chapter. It's
The
very
event,
close.
it's not about same book. We're talking about historical events.
Yes,
Things happened,
that's
people
right.
came and accused him.
That's right.
He refuted them in that event by saying, look, number one, I didn't claim to be God,
I think
but I
that-
only said.
Yes.
So it's, why is it not registering the Christian mind?
From 60 to
He
63.
didn't say I'm God in any way, shape or form.
60 to 63.
He's simply saying, but I only said
The
I'm Ben
60.
Elyon.
60. The high priest.
Read it
Yes,
loud.
I would like
Read it
to-
loud.
I would like to read this,
Loud, please. We gotta hear it on the thing.
You need to hear it? Okay, sorry. And the high priest stood up in the midst and asked Jesus, have you no answer to make? What is it these men testify against you? But he remained silent and made no answer. Again, the high priest asked him, are you the Christ, the Son of the Blessed? And Jesus said, I am, and you will see the Son of Man seated at the right hand of power, coming with the clouds of heaven. And the high priest tore his garments and said, what further witnesses do we need? You have heard his blasphemy. What is your decision?
If he was just a man, this wouldn't be blasphemy. If he's claiming to be God, it's blasphemy. That's
I
what it is.
understand, and he's saying in retaliation that an accusation made by them is no proof that Jesus is in fact calling himself.
Thank you, Jesse. You
But
understood well.
No,
I
but
do
he's
believe
getting punished for it.
that it is
no,
hard.
he's doing it on pain of death.
I know.
Okay, on
I
pain
believe
of
that
death,
he's.
it's not like any kind of like confusion about what he's saying.
I believe that to be
No,
true
no,
too.
it's in the text because he
I-
cleared it. He
yes,
said,
I'm
"You'll
agreeing
see
with
the
you.
Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven."
Yes.
That's a reference to the Old Testament.
That's right.
In Daniel,
Yes,
where the Son of Man is a deity.
Absolutely.
And he's saying, "I am
And
a
that's
deity."
a huge thing for us
Yes.
to talk about as
So
well.
explain that to us.
In response to
How
this,
would you respond not to the accusations,
And
but
you
to
gotta
the
be
words,
aggressive,
to
please.
the words of Jesus? I am, and you will see the Son of Man seated at the right hand of power, coming with the clouds of heaven.
Sure. Is he saying I'm God?
Yes,
I believe that.
Yes.
So if we go to
Are you a
we'll
son of
go.
man? Oh, no,
That's the
no,
question,
before
are you
go
God? He asked
somewhere
him.
else, in here,
I am not the Son of
no,
Man.
there is no such thing as the son of man.
There
or a
is.
son of-
There is, because-
I'll tell you why. Is God a man or a son of man?
Jesus
No, I'm
became the
asking
Son of
you
Man.
just a simple question. Is God a
God
man
the,
or a son of
Fa-
man?
God the Father is not a man or the Son of Man.
No,
Jesus
God.
is.
God is God. Is he a banana? Is
God-
he a turtle?
God.
No, God is God.
God is God.
So God
That's
is
right.
God.
Jesus
No,
is God
this
as well.
Let's understand something. God has a class or a category called God.
Yes.
In that category, human beings don't fit. Trees don't fit. Elephants don't fit. Bananas don't fit because it's a different category altogether. God is always
where's
going
my
to be
phone?
God in this category. He doesn't diminish himself from being God.
you have it, right?
You have it?
That's
Okay.
it.
Sorry.
God doesn't diminish himself
Sorry.
from being God. He'll always be God like he always was God, he always is God. That nature of God will never change. The moment you say God is a man, you are now incorporating a different nature. Now I want to ask you, Jesse, did God lose
is
some
your
of his
Bible?
divine
Sorry.
nature? Did he lose some of his divine nature?
No.
And so it's not. So did he add something, an external nature to his divine nature?
He incarnated into a
Did he
different
add
nature.
to his divine nature?
No, I don't believe
If I
it.
have a cup which is full,
No.
you can take something away from it to put something in there, right? But if it's already full, you can't add anything to it. If God is already fully
I
God,
can't tell him that.
and you add a banana, you can't add to nature God because it's already complete. You can't add a nature of a human being and say God took on another nature. It makes simply no sense. Let me explain to you why. If you are 100% something, like knowledgeable, right? Knowledge. Can you add any more knowledge to it?
No.
Jesse, can I tell you something?
So when you add,
Ask him, just give him a second. Give him a second. Listen, the question that the priest is asking him, the Pharisee, is the assumption that if you respond to this in the affirmative, you are committing blasphemy. Okay? You need to articulate that very clearly and say he had a concept that a man can be a god. Okay, because angels appeared also in the form of men. But he didn't ask him, are you an angel? He said, are you the son of the living God? How did he know that? Okay, ask him that.
If I ask him that, will that change his mind?
It's not about that.
This is
You need
about
to
the
clear.
cameras.
It's about
Enough
making
of destruction.
your argument clear.
Apologetics.
Clear.
So-
That's the
Yeah.
apologetics and the
something-
polemics.
Yeah.
when you have something complete, the nature of God is such that he's a complete God in every way, shape or form in his divinity. He does not lack anything. He doesn't lack knowledge. He doesn't lack power. He doesn't lack glory. He doesn't lack any of his divine attributes, right? So, if you add something to it, what you're doing is you are
He
adding
won't
something
let you
which
speak.
is.
You got to speak up.
I'm not here. I didn't want to have a giant argument. I really just wanted to be able to. I didn't realize
It's called
that this
Speaker's
was going
Corner
to be
for
like
a
this.
reason, right?
He's
This is a place for debates.
I understand.
The moment.
So
I
do
am
you-
not one of you. I'm not an
It's the same old
apologist.
thing. Jesus
So,
isn't
do you
God.
follow so far? If you are 100% divine, you can't add anything to the divinity. All you are going to add are going to add imperfections, deficiencies, weaknesses. Because God is the only perfect being. The only being which is
He's making
absolutely
10
perfect.
points and he's
Other than God, everything else is his
Want us to
creation.
find something?
Are you listening?
I'm listening.
Everything else other than God is his creation. And creation is always limited, dependent, finite, meaning they are deficient.
Did the
imperfect.
Pharisee not know
so
this?
Why
did he ask him?
If you add anything to God, which is perfect, you are adding imperfection. So the incarnation is actually polluting God, corrupting God of his perfection. That's why the idea of incarnation to a sound intellect doesn't make any sense.
As I said earlier, it is.
Sound intellect, not mystery. It's obviously clear. This is a fence, right? Somebody says this is
What's
God.
clear is he's
You
not
and
a
I are not
debater,
gonna say,
and you're screaming at him.
you
That's
and
what's
I
perfectly
are
clear.
not going to say it's a mystery. You don't know how this fence is God. You will say, look, this fence
No,
is
it's not a mystery.
because God.
How did
My
God
last
get in the
point.
burning bush?
My last point. My last point. God needs to be, for his divinity, possessor of some necessary attributes. One of the necessary attributes for a necessary being is called self-sufficiency or independence, being independent and self-sufficient.
Scott plenty.
Do you consider, because this is my last example, I have to go, right?
Oh, you're gonna run?
Do you consider,
Okay, you're not gonna listen to
do
his
you
argument.
consider, Jesse, Jesus Christ possesses self-sufficiency or aseity, being a say, self-sufficiency and being independent? Because if you say yes, if you affirm, we can then examine. If you say no, then he cannot be God. So from the outset,
When he
does he
when he goes,
possess
do you mind sharing what-
self-sufficiency?
I
And what
do believe he does.
What I mean by this is, let me explain if you say so. Okay? Maybe to preemptive. Someone who is self-sufficient doesn't need anyone else for their own existence. For example, for their own life. For example, if I were self-sufficient, what it means is I don't need God to even to exist. You understand? If I were self-sufficient, I don't need even God to exist because I am independent of God for my own existence. That's what it means, self-sufficient. I don't need anyone else besides me. Self-sufficient, sufficient by self. So, if Jesus was self-sufficient, he does
One
not
will.
need the Father
One
to
will.
exist. He doesn't need the Holy Spirit to exist. So let me ask you,
That's right.
is Jesus
The need is not what
no.
makes them
Is
exist.
Jesus-
They
Wake up,
exist
bro.
regardless
Come on,
of
Is
this need
Jesus
of them.
self-sufficient in such a way that he can exist without the Father existing?
He's screaming at you. You
That's,
can't
that,
just...
this is the kind of question that I think is, if I were to say yes, that would be actually an irreverent blasphemy of the fact that God does exist, the Father and the Holy Spirit and Jesus. No, they do not need the others to
I didn't say
exist.
need. I said
they are one.
No, I said.
So they cannot exist without each other.
I said.
And so I'm just saying.
No, clarify. Can Jesus exist without the Father existing?
Yeah, it keeps jumping in.
No, they're all one.
Jesus doesn't exist without the Father existing.
So
and
he's
it's not
dependent on
important
the Father.
because if
So
we
he's
can
dependent on the
say
He's not self-sufficient.
can the
he
Father
exist without
can the
his
Father
Spirit?
transform into a unicorn?
No, let me address that point.
Like,
When you say
when
can
we
the
talk about-
Father transform, meaning can the Almighty be less than Almighty? It makes no sense. It's a contradiction. But we're talking about Jesus is identified to be God, divine, possessor of not partial divinity,
Yes.
full divinity. Full divinity means you have to be fully divine with the attributes of self-sufficiency.
videos before
So,
you come here, so you know what.
If he's self-sufficient, he doesn't need the Father even to exist. But you know very well,
But he doesn't
he
let
was
me speak.
eternally, atemporally dependent on the Father to beget him.
Nice.
Otherwise he would not be here.
That doesn't work here.
Jesse, think about
He's
this.
normally not like
Think about it. We have to go now because it's
happened?
been a while.
See,
If
he
you want to
didn't
say
let you
something,
speak, bro.
go and speak.
You
but
see,
I'm
that's what he
gonna
was doing.
end
He
this
was just
discussion.
trying
I
to
think
take up the
we've given
time
you
to
enough-
make his point.
I've
But
given
now
enough-
that you want to make your
If you want to
point,
make a
he
point,
wants to run away.
Go ahead. But
Just
as
run
I said
away.
already,
Just run away. You run away from me. No. Get out of here now. What are you telling him now? What's
you
left
have
to
to say
say?
anything in return? Because I talked about only God is self-sufficient. Jesus is not.
I think what I've gathered is that from what we've been saying, I could read this passage from Mark, or I could read a few other things from here that we were looking at before, and it's not going to change your mind, probably not many other people's minds.
Because it doesn't make sense.
Well, I don't believe that's the case.
We've established that so far now.
No, because you've been talking the whole time,
But I have
and
given
you've been
you
able
time
to,
to
you've
reflect
been
on what
able
I've said.
to. No, not really.
I've given you time to reflect.
Because you have actually, and in fact,
Let him
you are
talk,
doing
bro.
it now even. And what I think
Why are
has
you now
happened.
becoming
Why don't you let him speak?
I'm sorry, I don't mean to be aggressive to you.
No, why are you now being passively aggressive?
I'm not trying to be passively aggressive. Well,
Have I said
actually,
anything that didn't make
I'm
sense?
not being aggressive, but I suppose in a
Passive.
way.
You are being
I
aggressive,
suppose,
man.
you know what? Not
Very
passive.
aggressive.
Now I'll be confrontational, I suppose.
You're gonna okay, you only got 2 minutes because
Which
I'm
is,
going. As said earlier.
I
You can be
believe that what
confrontational.
I
hit
believe
and run, hit
that
and
what you
run.
have done here, because I did want to have an open conversation.
We did.
But what you have done is you have in fact spoken over all of these points, and you've talked over and over and over and over very, very
I've made my
fast.
point.
Right,
very
that's right.
fast. And you have made lots and lots of points, many of which I wish I could have said something to, but you moved so fast that I couldn't have stopped.
Oh, is that
to
the
talk to you
case?
straight.
That
Why
is
did
the
you
I do
case.
believe that's the
But
case.
You didn't let him speak.
Because I wanted to be
understood.
polite, and I knew that
And now
You can't do that to
we
me,
could be-
Mansur. That's why you don't
if we
talk to
could
me.
have been civil, then the
Oh,
idea.
we want civil. Here are people. Now I wasn't civil all the time.
No, you weren't.
I think that civility is
not a
when you did
surprise.
pause and allow for someone to respond to points, but rather you went so fast that I wasn't
you ever
able to
tell
One
me
to
it
the
was too
next,
fast?
one to the next.
I should have been
So
more
whose
like
problem
that.
is that? Mine or yours?
It's your
That
fault.
particularly, I own that. I
Because you're
should
too
have
nice.
said, I should have
Right.
said,
So
please
don't make
slow
an
down.
accusation now. It's your
Next
problem.
time, don't make
Next
that
time,
mistake.
Well, we
This
can
is
both both have made a mistake.
good
That is
advice.
Come to the speaker's
Advice
corner.
for you.
Know the rules.
Next time,
We can both have
Know
made
the
a
rules.
mistake.
No, next time, when people are fast, tell them it's too fast.
You're right. I agree with you. I'm sorry,
Good.
and I'm sorry
So
that I didn't
now-
speak up earlier.
Jesse,
It's just
I'm
that I
going to
feel
leave
that
you with this. If you die in this state of associating partners with God,
I
we
know.
said already,
Yes.
the abode will be eternal hellfire. There will be no coming out.
Yes.
So you know the message of Islam is very clear.
I do know that, and you know the
Islam
same
is
for
from the
Christianity.
devil.
I
Jesus is
do
Lord.
not reject
Islam is
Christ.
fraud.
He might be messenger of God.
That if you are wrong, you too face the same.
I accept
We
Christ.
both
He's the
face-
mighty messenger
No,
of God.
Muhammad was a
You don't accept him
Trinitarian.
as what he
Muhammad
said.
was a
You worship
It
Trinitarian.
doesn't sound like you accept.
Muhammad
him
was
as
a
he
Trinitarian.
presented himself.
If we were to go further,
Worship the moon god.
you would have known even the Bible that you get the message from, you can't even rely on it. This is one of the weakest reports that you can even think about it. Do you know?
Quran
Do you know?
confirms the Bible.
For you to think about
Without
it,
the
because I
Bible,
read
there's
it,
no
right?
Quran.
Yes, I know you do.
Do you know the integrity, character integrity of the writers of the Gospels? Were they honest? Were they possessors of good memory? And did they lie? You have no clue. You have anonymous writers writing about it, and you take your whole life based on these anonymous writers who could be blatant liars. The reason why I'm saying this, your New Testament has 4 Gospels. But were they the only ones written? Were they?
Tell him where's the
I
original.
think-
Ask him
I
where's
think-
the original
I think,
Quran.
I think if we're about to finish, what I want to say, you believe in God and I do too, but I believe in Jesus. We're not going to be able to talk each other out
We
of
have
this.
talked. I have given my
But I
reasons
believe
why I
that
reject
Jesus is
Christian
God and you
understanding.
say he's not. So if I
But you
can,
didn't listen.
if we walk away now, I believe that Jesus has the sufficiency to make you believe that he is
this
God
What's
too.
Hobbes
But you
reliable?
also believe that
Is this sufficient?
you also believe that
Is
God
Hobbes
has the
reliable?
sufficiency to do that. So if you go and pray,
I'm
would
praying
you
every
would you
day.
pray for me? No, I mean for me.
To the moon god.
I pray
Would
for
you
you.
go and pray
Wow.
for me?
I pray for
and
you.
I will go
Yeah,
and
yeah,
pray
yeah,
for
moon
you.
god.
And whoever
With one condition though.
and God will be the judge, and his judgment will either, I hope, mercifully convert you or mercifully convert me.
One condition. You need to be sincere to be guided.
I agree, and I say
Okay,
the
let's
same to
leave
you.
it.
I say the same to you.
Exactly.
And let him
17 times
talk.
a day at
And
least
We
minimum.
can have a
And I do
timer.
finish by
He talks
apologising
and
that
you
I
talk.
didn't
That's
say
what you
earlier.
talk.
No
that
problem.
thing.
Have
That's
your
okay.
monologue
You're a
somewhere
good man.
else.
I really appreciate.
You're a
thank
good
you.
man, and you did stand on your ground compared to the hecklers trying to take over you. Thinking
Oh
that you
yeah,
have
so
some
you
right.
can just
I didn't want to debate. I
Just
didn't want to
railroad
say.
him. Just keep talking over him. Yeah, so
I want to